Dr. Manoj Chawla is a well-known speaker. Everybody knows him. He is a director and consultant diabetologist at Lina Diabetes Care and Mumbai Diabetes Research Center. He is a consultant diabetologist at Asian Heart Institute and Research Center. He is with SL Raheja Fortis Hospital, Mahim, founder president of United Diabetes Forum, which is a large body of diabetologists in India. Honorary visiting faculty at D.Y. Patil College. He's a RSSJ fellow and principal investigator in various trials, and he is a speaker in almost all the diabetes and endocrinology related conferences. So I welcome him to present this lecture.
Dr. Chawla would be speaking on insulinization in type 2 diabetics with
Thank you.
basal during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, chairpersons and Diacarcon, and of course my dear friend Bansi for inviting me here. I believe I'm in a little poor network zone, so would request the chairpersons and the technical guys to stop me if I am not heard. I will be speaking slowly, but yet will finish in time. If I am not heard, please let me know. I will put off my video. My face isn't something to see much, but the presentation definitely is. So, are my slides seen now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Very well visible.
Okay.
Please carry on.
Thank you. So addressing the insulinization challenge during the COVID-19 pandemic with the basal advantage is my topic. I'm of course contracted as a speaker for this talk. This is a Sanofi sponsored session. The overview of my presentation is going to talk about the pandemic and its impact on insulinization. What have been the solutions one has come up with for insulin initiation, and the aspect of titration, monitoring, and optimization of insulin. Again, the solutions found during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this is the status in India prior to the pandemic. This is from the landmark study. And when we say landmark, it isn't a landmark study, it is the landmark study, which has been the first large-scale longitudinal prospective observational real-world study to see the management and complications in type 2 diabetes across India over a period of 3 years. I'm happy and proud to be a part of this study. Our center, Lina Diabetes Care, is a part of this study, and like many other centers across India. So 6,236 patients in this study, patients with diabetes more than 25 and less than 60 years of age, with diabetes duration of more than 2 years, who were taking at least 2 drugs were included in this study, which is, as I said, a follow-up study for 3 years. What it tells us is average age at diagnosis of diabetes is around 43 years for our patients in India for type 2 diabetes. Average duration for those enrolled in this study is about 8 years. What it also tells us is the status of control. So various studies, be it landmark, be it INDIAB and many others, have told us percentages between 19 to 20, 21%. This is telling us those are reaching a target of less than 7% is only 18.9. It also tells us that before the pandemic, the status of insulinization again continues to be about 25%. So less than 1 in 4 of our patients are initiated on insulin, despite the fact that almost 19% patients are not at controlled diabetes. Now, COVID-19 and its connect with diabetes, it has posed many challenges. People with diabetes are at increased risk of severity and mortality from COVID-19. A lot of predictive analysis models which spoke about what would happen during the pandemic. Some of the studies coming now, including ours, have questioned this and in fact have seen changes as a study and the publication which has looked at what really happened after the pandemic. But at the beginning, there were a lot of predictive models which spoke about the fact that glycemic control and diabetes complications are likely to worsen with increased duration of the lockdown and restrictions in movement. The risk and severity of COVID-19 in people with diabetes can be reduced with general precautions, good glycemic control, and proper monitoring. This has again been proven and published through multiple papers like Dr. R. Gupta and all's paper here. However, delaying insulin initiation is even more common during the COVID-19 pandemic in India, has been again a concern. So overreaching concerns during the COVID-19 pandemic, there is of course restricted movement, and this is what I'm talking about, at least the first 3 to 4 months of the absolute lockdown. Reduced access to healthcare resources. The doctors weren't available, access to medications. Glucose test strips were not available for the first few weeks, at least of some of the reputed brands as well. There were a lot of missed follow-ups, patients not going to the laboratory or missing the visits to the doctors. Restricted time for interaction leading to lack of counseling and training. Uh, Again, people working for limited time, trying to see as many patients that they could help. So the teams were not available. The diabetes care teams were disrupted, either not traveling to the site or other social and practical issues. So all these were challenges, including the challenges with remote monitoring of blood glucose levels. Lack of adequate troubleshooting was correction of injection technique and use of insulin devices. Again, a huge challenge to the entire aspect of insulin therapy, whether it's initiation or continuity. So what are the insulin initiation solutions? Let's look at that. And this is where, during the early months of the pandemic, a group of Indian experts was invited to deliberate and come out with an expert opinion about insulinization in type 2 diabetes with basal analogs during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this was published recently in Diabetes Therapy, as seen here. And I'm grateful to be one of the authors for the same, and thankful to the entire group for their faith and confidence in me. Now, when you talk about an expert panel recommendations, is it just group of people sitting together, chatting it out and just deciding or agreeing or disagreeing? Not really. There are multiple ways of arriving at some concurrence. One of the ways is the RAM method, which is the R&D, which is research and development, or the University of California at Los Angeles appropriateness method, the RAM method, and I'll speak more about that. A nominal group technique, a Delphi method, or National Institutes of Health Consensus Development Conference. So there are multiple methods which are used very often to arrive at some concurrence, identifies the central tendency amongst the group, it grades the level of agreement reached, and balances response on a specific question with insufficient evidence. So let's look closely at the RAM, which is the methodology which was used for this particular expert panel consensus. The RAM technique obtains concurrence from expert group through rating appropriateness to well-defined clinical situations based on the appropriateness scale. So in this, we had 2 rounds where the expert panels rate different indications. First, which is through the emails, and second is through a panel meeting, sometimes in person. During this time, of course, this was through a Zoom meeting during the pandemic types. And then there has been rating, and the agreement is rated as either appropriate, uncertain, or inappropriate based on the evidence available and based on the expert's opinion on multiple different recommendations or parts of those recommendations. So challenges in insulin initiation during COVID-19 pandemic has led to a lot of diabetes distress. As said, the challenges has been about restricted movement, inability to demonstrate the proper techniques, challenges with monitoring, and the fact that the HbA1c levels were very often on the higher side. A bigger challenge was patients doing some SMBG at home and not even able to go to the laboratory to get their HbA1c, or refusing to even visit the clinics, or afraid to do so that they could do a point of care HbA1c. So HbA1c testing had largely gone down in the first few months of the pandemic. So some of the solutions found by the panel and recommended was that safe and convenient insulin regimen required, less monitoring to be preferred. Insulin initiation should be done with the use of disposable pens to reinforce simplicity and ease of insulin therapy, because a reusable pen would mean change of cartridge, the way it has to be done, and that may be a little more cumbersome. So using this, something as simple as using disposable pens, at least at that time, to initiate is what we stick to, was one of the recommendations from the group. The guideline recommendation, most of the bodies today speak about, ACL did recommend premix till 2000, and the ADs also included premix in their recommendation. To your notice that RSSDI, which is the Indian
Dr. Manoj, your voice is breaking. Dr. Chawla, your voice is breaking.
I think, sir, please unmute. Manoj, sir,
Please unmute. Please unmute.
Unmute yourself.
Sorry. I'll share again. I think I got locked out. Let me share again.
Yeah, yeah.
Was I heard till the time that I was?
Sir, if you face the problem, I can share your PPT.
No, I'm sharing the PPT. It is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were out here only. Yeah. This time. Yeah.
Right. So I was talking that ADA 2021 also recommends basal insulin as the most convenient initial insulin regimen in patients with type 2 diabetes. The basal insulin is simplest and most convenient to initiate. That's the ADA recommending the same. The BSmart guideline, again, a part of the initiative itself, also mentioned that basal only regimen is the most convenient initial insulin therapy. You also had another recommendation by Dr. Sanjay Kalwa and group, which was published way back in 2016, which spoke about basal insulin involves only one injection per day, and you do not require adherence to inflexible meal patterns or quantity or composition, and hence again recommended to be the convenient way for initiating insulin. Now, this was a presentation, so this was a publication which happened in June, in fact, which was something which was an initiative which drove this expert panel to come out with the Indian
Dr. Manoj, you are not audible. Not audible.
me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah. You're audible now. Yeah.
Okay, because I got a signal that the host has muted me. I don't know why the host is muting me, but I got a signal that the host is muted.
Sir, there is a internal issue from your side, so that's why I muted.
Can I proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello.
Clear, sir. You can proceed.
Okay, so this was the Earl Hirsch's presentation, publication, which spoke again about that basal insulin should be. So we know about the ADA-EST recommendation about after metformin, that looking at the comorbidities and choosing different drugs. But here again, the Earl Hirsch's publication was very clear that when you have HbA1c more than 9%, do not wait insulin initiation and use basal line as the second line after metformin to avoid complications in our patients. Now, basal insulin can additionally address the glycemic variability in TR, and this slide was also shown by Dr. A.K. Singh, so I'll skip that. But it clearly speaks about the fact today that when we use insulin, we need to look at options today which are also showing improvements in glycemic variability and reduction in TIR. I think the concept of GV and TIR is a little beyond just in its fetal stage or infancy, but beginning to crawl and walk, definitely. I don't know how long it will be before it stands up and starts running, but definitely a clinical consideration for most to have to consider drugs, not only insulin, but all drugs which are getting evidence for reducing GV and improving the TIR. In-person consultation. Of course, during the pandemic where that was not possible, for remote initiation, video consultations are recommended to ease the person into the insulin journey. Used a lot. Starting dose of basal insulin analogs is 10 units or 0.1 to 0.2 unit kilogram per day. Finally, titration monitoring and optimization. So titration algorithm should be safe and easy once you initiate. And as we said, we had to do a lot of initiation on the video monitoring during times of the pandemic. and hence the choice of basal insulin, which is easier, once a day, simpler, not much of monitoring required. Titration should be recommended. These are the different titration algorithms with basal insulin analogs like glargine, whether you're changing every day, every couple of days, once a week, and so on and so forth. What again the group felt here in this panel was that SMBG should be performed at least twice a week. You could do a simple +2 or -2 titration till the fasting glucose target of less than 120 is achieved. Initiate the titration within 2 weeks of insulin initiation. It should be, of course, based on fasting blood glucose readings. Basal insulin analogs, the maximum dose that you go to is 0.5 units per kilogram per day. If you don't get your patients to good HbA1c targets, then you may consider to move to a basal plus or a premix regime. And we stuck to 0.5. There are some reports of 0.7, especially with the second, but this expert panel group felt like glargine 300. Person-led titration can be encouraged and motivated in educated persons. So encourage self-titration and monitor the glycemic parameters regularly, at least once in 3 months. So the lab parameters, whether it's HbA1c and other reports, should be done once in 3 months. Better persistence and adherence with basal versus premix. Now, this is again real-world evidence showing when you use glargine, the adherence and persistence for patients persisting in the treatment for 90 percentile of the time is much higher with glargine. And similarly, even if you look at 75th percentile, you're seeing a significant difference between glargine and the premix insulin. Percentage of patients skipping insulin in 6 months, again, tends to be higher, and which is understood. When you're on twice-a-day therapy as compared to once a day, you traveled out, you missed it, and many reasons which are there, which is why adherence to once-a-day therapy is far better. More compliance once daily versus twice daily erections. Once daily insulin had approximately 44% more adherent days compared with basal improves the movement from premix insulin to basal insulin satisfied.
Your voice has stopped. Dr. Manoj, can't hear you.
Okay, I think I'm almost done. Apologies again. I'll just share again and wind up my presentation. Okay, here we are, and we move ahead. So this was a study which spoke about shifting from premix to from 2 papers, one by Avdesh Singh and Kamlesh Kunti in their recent paper, which spoke about alternately to minimize exposure, even a single per day. Panel also spoke that once daily dosing offered by basal insulin is also an attractive option for minimizing the risk of exposure to COVID-19 for healthcare providers. And this is what was used in the hospitals, where they could just administer the basal insulin once a day. Advantages of basal analogs in COVID-19 pandemic are multiple, and as seen here, simple and convenient to initiate, easy and safer to titrate, effective in real practice, less GV and more TR, less weight gain, improved adherence, flexibility of using OADs, ease of training, and improved quality of life and patient satisfaction. There are some additional advantages of generation 2 basal insulins, which has again been emphasized on, that minimal weight gain, less glycemic variability, flexible dosing, less hypoglycemia, and importantly, less overall and nocturnal hypoglycemia. So the key message, from my presentation, basal is the simplest and most convenient insulin ring for initiation. Basal insulin offer the ease of training in people with diabetes. Basal insulin requires less monitoring. Basal analogs are associated with increased persistence and adherence, and basal analogs minimize the risk of exposure to COVID-19 for healthcare providers, and hence an option even in hospitalized patients where they have to be administered insulin. The nursing staff can very well do with once a day administration itself. Thank you so much. And